was another quick flash of lightning, and they looked out on a scene from hell.
Hello, my name is Ali MOBBS, and I'm a British producer, sound artist and beatmaker, and I'm living in Kyoto, Japan at the moment. Well, someone described it to me as kind of like melancholic instrumental hip hop, essentially. I try to not sound like that, but I think naturally it tends to be kind of slightly wistful sounding, basically head nodding music. It's rarely danceable. It's not like fist pumping happy music, basically. I used to I'd made all my own controllers. So the first thing I really wanted was a mono, and they're amazing but ridiculously expensive. So I built one using Arduino. And the good thing about mono was that you could go on the forums and it's totally open. You're encouraged to build your own version if that's what works better for you. So I did that. That's kind of what got me onto was basically one of my first electronic projects, and started kind of getting into I practiced soldering by circuit bending stuff. I've broken so much stuff, it's ridiculous. And then so after I made the Arduino, I started making other MIDI controllers from Xbox controllers and stuff. So my live setup was a mono on the right, and on the left I had like the MIDI fighter, a super early version of that, just 16 arcade buttons, and that was going through max patch to convert it to MIDI. And then I had the Arduino had its own little thing, and then that was all running through Ableton, and I had some other controllers I'd made and some circuit bent instruments and a little nano control, the slider one. And I really liked the setup, and it was super cool because people would be like, yo, what's that? It's some weird Lego encased flashy button thing. But too many occasions I'd be ready to play and just be and nothing would happen, it would crash, and it wasn't stable, and it was lots of stuff to carry around. And it was only after playing live quite a lot, especially with in between DJs or whatever, there's no space to set up, it's really stressful. So yeah, when I saw Push, it was kind of I knew straight away I wanted it, and then got it, took it home, and I was like, oh man, this is just a step sequencing machine, what's going on? I wanted to use all of the pads to be able to play instead of the 16 at the bottom. And now you can, after Live 9, they changed that. But prior to that, basically did some research, and lo and behold, someone had made a thing called PXT Live, which is a MIDI remote script that you load in, and then it just basically makes Push a million times better than it was. And I think for Push 2, they actually probably took quite a lot of the, they saw that people didn't have the functions they want, and then took it from that. So that basically meant that my setup was now, instead of being in a massive suitcase and being this wide, was just that it fit on top of a turntable and was perfect. And through my prior setup was melodic chops on the mono, and then drums on the other one. It was just the same kind of thing but condensed. And that's when I started really just focusing on using 64 pads. And even most tracks, they're not actually taking up 64 pads. You'll see any white square, it's there's no sound. All my drums were yellow. And then I would put glitchy effects and stuff as green pads, just to help me remember roughly what is what. But drums are always in the lower left-hand corner in the yellow squares. But basically I work 100% in drum racks. So I produce tracks in drum racks so I can play them live. And then drum racks is you can have a drum rack and a drum rack and a drum rack and a drum rack forever. It's when you point a video camera at a mirror and it does that weird infinity effect. So it's Ableton and Ableton and Ableton. So when I work in that way, then I can instantly just play it, see how I want it, and then record the performance, tweak it. If I'm recording it, I can fix mistakes, but try to keep it as live as possible. Yeah, so I recently did finish an album with another guy who's based in Tokyo, and we decided to just put it out ourselves. And then after we did our own little release, we finished collaborating with we'd been doing it for about a year, and we were since we already set it up, we decided to continue it and put out other music. So it's called Gohan, and the idea is to basically get like two artists that wouldn't necessarily be put together to make music together. So it's like a collaborative kind of like curating collaborations basically. And that includes like people doing the artwork and like pairing them with a musician or like a producer and seeing what comes out of it. And apart from our first release, we also put out a compilation of like Japan-based, like from Osaka, Nara and Kyoto, like beat makers. And there's an event in Kyoto that I play at called Quantizer. So it's like there's 4 producers and then 2 tracks each. And then the next idea is to take those like South Japan-based producers and pair them up with people in the UK who are doing a similar kind of thing, like UK hip-hop, and just see what happens with that. So it's basically not necessarily a label or anything, it's more trying to get like people to collaborate that wouldn't normally otherwise, like having like a contact point between like different countries or like different areas and stuff. Yeah, Beat Picnic is like it's like like an exercise to like force you out of your habits of working like either in the box or like with your preferred hardware, and then using like field recordings, like go to one location and then like with a bunch of other people, other producers, you go about like recording sounds in that one place. So say it's like a temple in Japan where like I'm based. You all go out like scurrying away, like tapping on stuff, thinking like what's going to make a good kick drum, like thumping, like just recording loads and loads of stuff, and then take it back, edit it down to like, you know, get rid of the junk, and then we share all those samples. And then it's basically like a challenge of like making a full track from only field recordings. And from doing that, it's totally like basically improved my knowledge, and like I've learned like so much from doing that, more so than any other thing. Just kind of trying to make everything yourself from scratch is at first seems really difficult and daunting, but it's not. And you start to look at objects in totally different ways. So it's like, okay, for instance, like I can make, you know, a good kick out of like thumping that massive wood panel. So you start to think about how objects sound, which when you're, say if you're someone who just samples from records and then sitting like either with MPC or like whatever SP404 in Ableton, you're just like pew, and you just, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but you build up habits and then it's hard to break out of them. So it's basically a way to go outside and then find a different way to do stuff. It started off with a group of friends basically going out to do it. And then like we got other producers involved, and then we did like a release of, like it was a split between myself and another artist called Agagara. And that's when we decided like, oh, we want to do more, basically like compilations of the tracks that people have made. But it's quite strict, so it's like, okay, side A essentially would be all tracks made in like the temple or like the Monkey Mountain or whatever, and side B would be at like a shrine or some other location we've been to. And then we decided to send basically sample packs out to other producers, and not necessarily producers based in Japan, and then see kind of how they interpret the sounds that we've recorded and see if you get different ideas. So yeah, we sent them out and got some stuff back, and it's interesting. Like I sent one to an artist and thought I'd get back basically like a hip hop track made out of monkey sounds, and he just sent like the most like brutal noise music. And it was kind of interesting to see how someone interprets the same sounds in a completely different way. And I'm sure maybe even he might have been like, didn't intend to make disgusting noise music out of it, but it's still like a good thing. There's that, you know, breaking you out of habits, and that kind of idea of being able to be like more experimental, because you're not making a piece of music in your usual like habitual way. It's like complete freedom from the start. So that's the idea anyway.